Well, good morning. Thank you very much for joining me in this video. I want to talk to you this morning about the problem of insufficient commission on closing. Maybe shortfall, maybe none at all. Now, we haven't had this problem of insufficient commission because there just isn't enough money from closing because of the way property values have been going up. It hasn't been a problem. But at some point, again, the market will level off, and we will have those when we see people paying top dollar for a property and then they use it as an ATM. And normally a salesperson should be able to sense that there isn't enough money on closing, but sometimes there's a lien they don't know about, and it comes to close and there isn't enough money to pay out commission. In that case, what do? Well, the seller legally still owes the money. So you need to sit down with the seller and make some kind of arrangement, if you can, for payment, partial payment, or something. If you have to take legal action, you have to take legal action. But it may be that the seller doesn't have any assets, doesn't have any money, and there's no use throwing good money after bad. You sort of lick your wounds and walk away. But what happens also when the seller just flat out refuses to pay? Could be any number of reasons. Could be a dispute with the listing agent. Could be that the property was owned in the name of a shell company with no assets. I always caution you about that. And the seller deliberately wants to burn the agent. Could be that the seller is just a crook. I don't know. But for whatever reason, on closing, there isn't the money that's owed for commission. What do? Well, I want to review with you the current board rules because it's changed. We had rules under the NAGRA board itself, and we had our own rules. Then, of course, we had Ortis rules, and those rules prevailed. And now we've got the ITSO rules, and they're a little bit different again. And we need to be aware of what these rules are because it affects us. Now, I should say that if you are it makes a difference whether you're the listing broker or the cooperating broker. If you're the cooperating broker, although the money is owed to you, you don't have direct access to the seller because you don't have a contractual relationship with the seller. See, the seller is tied in with the listing broker on the listing contract. And then through the board rules, where we're offering MLS a commission to the cooperating brokerage, then the cooperating brokerage has access to the listing brokerage to recover those funds. And so it depends which stool you're sitting on, how you approach it. Well, under the ITSO rules, I'm going to take a minute and read the rule for you. I just want to understand this. The obligation of the listing brokerage as trustee under the commission trust shall be discharged by the listing brokerage paying, following completion or other termination of the transaction, the following amounts in the following order. First, to the cooperating brokerage, the commission trust amount. And then next, to the listing brokerage, the balance of the commission trust. So the cooperating broker gets paid in full before the listing brokerage gets paid anything. That's how the rules are structured. Now, in all probability, the listing brokerage has proprietary control over the deposit. And once the transaction is completed, that's no longer trust funds because it was in trust pending completion. And so the listing brokerage can disperse those funds, and under the ITSO rules, the cooperating broker is first in line. Okay, so the listing broker collects and pays the cooperating broker, and if full commission is received, the bylaw says it's paid within 7 days. But where full commission is not received, the first step is to try and find a workable solution. So the listing brokerage and the cooperating brokerage begin to communicate and say, here's the situation, here's why it happened, here's the available funds, here's the relationship we got with the seller, and what's the best way of working this out. And they negotiate back and forth how to resolve the issue. And I'm glad that's in the bylaws. That's the way it should be. But if they can't find a workable solution within 60 days, then the listing brokerage has some options. The listing brokerage can either commence legal action against the seller to try and recover full commission, or at least recover enough commission to pay the obligation of the cooperating broker. Or the second option under our board rules is that the listing broker out of their own pocket can pay the cooperating broker what's owed to them. And there are circumstances where that might happen if the listing broker somehow stepped in to buy the property, or if the listing broker has a special relationship with the seller. It could happen. But if the listing broker chooses not to take legal action or to diligently pursue legal action, then the cooperating broker has an option. And his option is he has the right to commence legal action. Now, of course, I've already said he can't commence legal action literally under the contract of the listing, because the listing's with the listing brokers, not the cooperating brokerage. But the board bylaws make provision that the cooperating broker corresponds to the listing broker, gives him written notice of his intent to commence legal action. At which case, the listing broker has to assign the rights to sue to the cooperating broker and cooperate fully in that process. If the cooperating broker is the one who's going to take legal action, then all expenses incurred in that process are going to be borne by the cooperating broker. But any money that's recovered, even money beyond what's owed the cooperating broker, is kept by the cooperating broker. So once the listing brokerage signs the rights over, the cooperating broker has full access, has the right to sue, and will recover any money and will keep it themselves and pay themselves back for the out-of-pocket expenses. Now, if they're unsuccessful, then they're going to end up eating that out-of-pocket expenses. So they have to make a decision which way they're going to go on that. So now, what happens if none of this happens? There's a shortfall in commission or no commission, and the brokers can't come to an agreement between themselves, and neither one of them wants to launch legal action. It may be they decide it's not worth the effort or energy, or it may be that the listing broker has a special relationship with his client and doesn't want to upset the boat future. Whatever the case, they're not going to launch legal action. Then they have the option of going to arbitration within the board. So it's pretty clear how it's set down in the rules, and it's good to know how it's set down in the rules, because these things happen from time to time. We never like to see them happen. You work hard for your commission, you should just get paid your commission. But sometimes it doesn't happen. So I wanted to let you know what the rules are, what the standing is under ITSO rules, which we're come under now. Thanks very much for taking the time to watch this video. I look forward to talking to you again next week.